Welcome back to our Choice YouTube channel. In today's class, we'll be learning how to make this cute monostrap top. It's a very simple blouse, and I used a doll face fabric for this. You can use any fabric of your choice. It doesn't take too much time, and you do this in minutes. If this is what you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so to make this blouse, I'll be teaching us a very simple way of making it so that we don't waste fabric. And I'll be cutting this also directly on the main fabric. So I'll not be cutting on a pattern first. So you can decide to cut this on a pattern to make it easier for you. Whichever way you want is fine, but we'll be cutting this directly on our fabric and will not be wasting any fabric, despite the fact that one side is going to be a monostrap, the one is going to be without shoulder, and the other side is going to have shoulder, and the one with shoulder we're going to be cutting the sleeves together with the shoulder. Okay, so now I have my measurement here. This here is my full length measurement, which is 26 inches, and then here is my waist measurement, which is 15.5 inches. Okay, so now quickly, like I said, it depends on how fitted you want this to be. For me, I want this to be free but not too free. Okay, so now what you'll be using to fold your fabric, and by the way, the fabric is folded into four, which means I'm cutting both the front and back together, and it's on fold here, which means this is the center fold, and also on the other upper part is on fold, because I don't want my shoulder to have any joining. Okay, so that's why I folded it this way. So now, to know the measurement you're going to be using to fold this, I'm using the biggest measurement, which is the hip measurement, and the hip I'm working with is 14 inches divided by 4 is going to give me 10 inches. So remember, I said I don't want it to be tight, so I'll be adding 2-inch extra allowance to it. So that's going to give me 12 inches. Then I'll add 1 inch for my seam allowance, which is going to give me 13 inches on my waistline. So you can decide to leave the waist measurement as this, but if you want a little bit of shaping on the waist area, you can take your waist measurement. So the waist measurement I'm working with is 32 inches divided by 4. It's going to give me 8 inches, which I have here. And then I had 2 inches ease allowance also, like I added to this, and then I'm going to add 1 inch for seam allowance. So now I'm going to be joining this to my main bodice, to my hip. Okay, so now the next thing is for me to work on the upper part. So remember, there's going to be an elastic gathering here, so you're not going to be working directly, we're not going to be working with our normal shoulder measurement. Okay, so now I'm just going to be working with what I have here, which is 13 inches also. So the first thing I need to do now is to get my armhole measurement, and the armhole I'm working with is 8 inches. Okay, so remember, this other part, the one without sleeve here, is going to be completely sleeveless. I'm not going to be adding enough shoulder sleeves to it, but there's going to be a band, like a 1 inch or 2 inches band, which means this is still going to go up. That's why I'm comfortable with using 8 inches. But if you're not going to be adding a band, you want to go up a bit so that your armpit will not be showing. But this is fine for me because a band is still going to go with this. So now I have my armhole measurement here, and I'm going to be maintaining this measurement also for my bust measurement. So now I'm shaping my bust. So now to draw out my armhole curve on this part here, I'm going to be going inwards from this outer part here by 1.5 inches. So I'll measure the 1.5 inches here, and then I'm going to measure what the 1.5 inches here also. I'll make this into a straight line. Okay, so after this, the next thing is for me to draw out my armhole curve, which I'm going to draw like this. Okay, so now I have my armhole curve ready. So now remember, I said I'm not going to be opening this part of the seam because I don't want any seam there. But if you want to sew it, like you want to have a seam there, here you can go it down by maybe a quarter of an inch, and then you use that as your shoulder slope. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure my shoulder measurement. So depending on how wide you want your shoulder to be, you can do 2, 3 or 4 inches. 3 inches is fine for me. So from here I'll be measuring 3 inches on my shoulder, and then I'm going to be connecting this to my shoulder slope so that our shoulder for us is going to be quite obvious. So now this part of the sleeve, remember I folded it this way, I still have excess here. The reason why I have this excess is because remember there's going to be a sleeve here which is going to be cut together with this main fabric. That was why this was not cut off. That's why I have this side. So this side here is the part that's going to be the off shoulder, and this part here is the one with the sleeve. Okay, so now I can easily cut this side off. So I'm going to raise this up now, and then I'm going to cut off. I'm going to be shaping this side like this. Okay, so now here also I'm going to raise it a bit and then cut my armhole curve. Okay, so from here I'm going to be shaping out my armhole. So you can see that this is done for just one side, but for this side I'm going to be adding my sleeve. So to do this, I'm going to shift this a bit so that we can see it clearly. So depending on how big you want your sleeve opening to be, here I'll be going down by 2 or 3 inches from my armhole here. Okay, so let's say I'm going down by 3 inches. So I have here from the upper part here, I have around 11 inches for my sleeve opening. And then for my length, the length of my sleeve, you need to determine the length you want to work with. You can do maybe a full length of around 22 inches. You can do like 10 inches. But for me, I want my sleeve length to be around 14 or 15 inches. So from this armhole area here, I'm going to be measuring the 15 inches like this. Okay, so from here I have my 15 inches, and then I'm going to be extending that like this to the 11 inches. Remember my sleeve opening here is 11 inches, so I'm going to be replicating the 11 inches here also, and then I'm going to make it into a straight line. Okay, so this is for my sleeve. I hope we got how that was achieved. So this is for my sleeve, and the sleeve is just for one part of the body. So now to connect this to the down part here, I'm just going to go down here by just 1 inch, and then I'm going to try to smoothen this with a cuff. You can do maybe 1.5 or 2 inches. So this is just to make it blend well for you. So from here now, you can use your free hand for this also. I can also use a cuff. So I'm just trying to blend this in so that it doesn't just come off too sharp. So I'm just trying to blend in my sleeve here. Okay, so this is what I have. So I'm almost done with this now. I have my part that's going to be having a sleeve, and then this is the part without the sleeve, and then every other thing here remain the same. Okay, so now I can easily cut everything out now. So I'm going to be cutting my hem-line, and then this side also, so that I can work on my neckline. Okay, so I'm cutting this off. If you want your sleeve opening bigger than this, you can make it bigger, but this is fine for me, so I'm going with this. And even if you want your sleeve length to be longer than this, you can also make this longer. So I've cut this out now. So it's now for me to shape out my neckline. And to shape out this neckline, before I open it out, I'm going to be noting where my shoulders stop. Remember, I have my shoulder here. Remember this shoulder slant just to guide us. So I'm going to be replicating this here. This is where my shoulder stops, and also my center front. So here is my center front. I'm also going to note this here. Then I can now open this out. Okay, so my shoulder stops here, and then my neckline is around here. So now to form my monostrap, what I'm going to do on the center part here, I'm going to go down here by around 5 inches, which is this. So now I'm going to be connecting it from this part here, this upper part here, to these 5 inches that I marked and then to the armhole. So you can use a cuff for this, or you can use your free hand. So this is what I have here for my monostrap, and then I'm going to be cutting this out. So now my blouse is almost ready. You can see it's a monostrap blouse with a cut together sleeve like this, and the other side is going to be sleeveless. So now to sew this is very simple. We're just going to be sewing it from here down, and then from here down, and here I'm going to be adding a casing to it to add an elastic to this to gather it, and then here I'm also going to be cutting like a casing for the neckline. So I've gone ahead to sew it together like this on the sides, on the two sides, and then I did a casing here for the elastic for the hemline of the sleeve, and then I left this space to pass the elastic. So for the sleeve I'll be using this 1/4 inch elastic, and then I'm going to measure where the sleeve is, which is around here, and then I'm going to deduct 2 inches from that and use it to pass elastic to this. But first I'll work on the neckline. Okay, so for this neckline I'll take the measurement of this round, and then I'll use that to cut like a 2 inches band for my elastic. So this is actually from the leftover that I have on the fabric, and it's around 3 inches. So I'll be making do with that. So I've used that to cut out this for my elastic casing for the neckline, and then I'll be using this 1 inch elastic on the neckline. So now to sew this, I'm going to sew it to the neckline first like this. So after sewing it like this, I'm just going to fold this over then, and then sew it on top of this like this. I'm just going to sandwich this in between like this so that I can pass my elastic. Okay, but whatever it is that you have, you make sure that your elastic will be able to go through by the time you finish sewing. Okay, so I have little fabric, so I'm just going to be sewing it very tiny so that I can accommodate my elastic. Then I'm going to leave small space to put inside the elastic. So I'll do this now and bring it back to show us. Okay, so I've gone to add this casing to it. Like I said, I don't have too much fabric, so I just make do with what I have. So I didn't even turn it, I just managed it. So if you're doing this now, you can use like 4 inches so that you have enough allowance to turn it in so that it can be neatly finished at least. So now I'm going to turn it to the other side, and the way I sew it, I opened the side that doesn't have the sleeve. So I sew it in a way that by the time I pass my elastic, I can sew this in so that it will be neatly finished. So now I'm going to add my pin to this now, and then I'm going to pass my elastic round it through this hole. So I'm passing it. So now the elastic have been passed now, and I'm just going to take this to the sewing machine so that I can close it neatly on this side, and then I'm going to be adding tiny elastic to this also. Like I said, the measurement I'll be using for the elastic on the sleeve is the round sleeve measurement of where I'm placing this elastic. So I'm just going to take my tape rule and then measure around that space, and then what I have, I'll deduct 2 inches. So I have 12 inches there. So now I'm going to take my elastic now and then measure out 10 inches. So I'm deducting 12 inches from that. You can do more if you want it really firm. So let's say I'm doing 8 inches because this is actually enough for me. So I'm going to cut this out now, and then I'm going to pass it to this also. So I'm just going to take this, I don't want it to go inside. I'll go and sew it, then bring it back to show. So I fixed the elastic here on the sleeve area and also on the neckline. So it's all done now. You just need to hem it here on the hemline and your blouse is ready. So now I'm just going to take this to the mannequin to show us what this beautiful blouse looks like. Okay, so this is our blouse. You can see how simple and cute this is looking. Now, like I said, remember I used 8 inches for my armhole, and then I went ahead to put a 2 inches band for the elastic, so it's helped the armhole to move up a bit. Okay, but the 8 inches will also have worked. It's not so refilling, so you just need to take note of that when you're drafting. And this is the side that doesn't have any sleeve, and this is the side that the sleeve is cut together with the main bodice, and it also had an elastic band there also. And like I said when I was drafting, if you want it more, you can increase the opening, the sleeve opening more than this, so that you have bigger sleeve than this. Okay, so this is the blouse, this is the full blouse, and it is very simple to make. It's a beginner friendly tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed this, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.